Political analyst Ahmad Shahidov is joining us today from our studios to discuss the ongoing Israeli war, which has killed close to 9,000 Palestinians so far. Good to see you, Ahmad.
Thank you for having me.
Now, in the past 2 weeks, you were in Washington, D.C. What have you seen? Were there any pro-Palestinian protests or anything else?
Yes, thank you for inviting me to your program. I have been in Washington, D.C. and New York for the last 2 weeks and had some meetings with think tank organizations of the United States and some political analysts and journalists and members of American community. And what I saw in United States that, of course, the Americans, especially the original U.S. residents, they support the White House policy on Israeli-Palestinian war, and as you know, United States of America stands with Israel in these military operations. And from the first day when the Hamas attacked Israel and the Israel army launched offensive operations in Gaza, the majority in the United States, they condemn this attack of Hamas to Israel and express their support to Israel. But anyway, there are a huge of Muslim communities in the United States as well, and I saw that there are protest rallies, protest actions in front of the White House, in front of the Capitol building, especially in front of the Israel embassy in Washington, D.C., in front of the UN headquarters in New York. And not only the Arabics, not only the Muslims, also representatives of other countries, nations living in the United States, they condemn this brutality and they condemn the killing of innocent people in Palestine. And of course, this is the part of this public opinion, and it affects and has a huge impact on the White House positions. And as you know, last days, Joe Biden's and other U.S. officials' position on this war has been changed more, and they are now talking about the stopping this brutality, about the possibility of ceasefire in the region and not to kill the innocent people, civilians in Palestine. Of course, Joe Biden, White House, and Joe Biden's assistants push Israel to make these military operations very, very clear and target only the military settlements, military positions of Hamas or Hezbollah, and not the target of civilians. But you know, in fact, Israel ignores all international community, all international norms, and I saw it in New York during the urgent discussions on Israeli-Palestinian war in UN headquarters. You know, it was held 2 days discussions, debates on UN General Assembly, and as a result of these discussions, as a result of these debates, almost 120 countries, UN member countries, voted for immediately stop these military operations and for ceasefire in the region and for delivering humanitarian aid to civilians in Palestine. But in fact, 15 countries, it's less countries, but included United States of America, Great Britain, Israel, and some African countries, even I don't remember their names. And these 15 countries voted for to continue these military operations, and they said that the State of Israel has right of self-defense, and because of Hamas attack on Israel, now Israel army has the right to destroy all these Hamas groups and Hamas troops. But you know, in fact, there is somehow the solidarity in the world regarding this conflict, and I saw it inside the UN. But there is this solidarity has nothing with reality, and this solidarity has nothing to push the Israel and force to stop these military operations, because of United States of America is one of the permanent members of UN Security Council, and Washington always stands with Israel and vetoes all resolutions which has something against Israel. And last 3 weeks, there were almost 4 resolutions, draft resolutions inside the UN General Assembly and UN Council of Europe, and one of these resolutions were suggested by Russia, and it included about the ceasefire, about the delivering the humanitarian aid to Palestinians, and this resolution draft were vetoed by United States. Another resolution suggested by China, the same conditions, the same points about the ceasefire, about the humanitarian aid, about the stopping killing the civilians in Palestine, also vetoed by United States. And United States at the same time suggested on its own resolution about the fighting against the terrorism, fighting the right of Israel to defend itself, and no mention about civilians in Palestine. And these resolutions were vetoed by Russia and China. You know, somehow these clashes, this conflict between Israel and Palestine, Israel and Hamas, somehow become the topic of, and become the matter of fighting against the world leaders, world countries such as United States of America, Russia and China. And no one thinks about the civilians. And as you mentioned, almost 9,000 civilians, Palestinians, were killed during the last 3 weeks, and unfortunately there is no any concrete and effective international mechanism in the world to stop this brutality, to stop this genocide which is undergoing in Gaza right now. And Israel army targets not only Hamas, not only Hezbollah, also the hospitals, the civilian residents, civilian targets, today even the refugee camps. And so it means that there is no solidarity, there is no international community that can push and force Israel, force United States to stop brutality. But anyway, the public union, international community, the protest actions, protest rallies in United States, in other European countries, in UK and other European countries, somehow it affects to the position of United States as well. As I said before, today the White House representatives, they started to talk about the humanitarian aid to be delivered to Palestine, and they are aiming and they plan to allow UN humanitarian aid trucks to be delivered from Rafah crossing border and from Egypt to Palestine. But anyway, the Israel army continues these military operations, and every day civilians, innocent people are being killed. Already 25,000 civilians wounded, and this genocide, this brutality continues nowadays.
Now, how would you characterize the current humanitarian crisis in Gaza, especially in light of the recent escalation of violence?
You know, humanitarian crisis is deeply going on and continue, and as I said, international community just not just keep silent. They're just making any statements, but there is no any impact, and there is no any force to stop this brutality. And Israel knows the real power of the international community. I remember I was in New York during these debates, and I watched Israel representative in UN, Israel ambassador. He said that we don't recognize the UN. We don't recognize the UN resolution, and we have a right to self-defense, and we will continue until the end. We never target the civilians, and we never fight against Palestine. We fight against Hamas, we fight against Hezbollah, and we condemn these discussions. We condemn all kinds of resolutions against Israel. So we ignore the United Nations. To ignore the United Nations, it means that we ignore all the world. We ignore all international community. And in fact, Israel is a very small country. But if they ignore the international community, it means that they have very huge and strong support from the United States of America. But Washington plays double standards, like a game from one side they support politically and they finance, and they are aiming to send the U.S. Army troops to Israel to take part in these military operations against Palestine. From the other hand, they are interested not to expand these military operations, because especially some countries such as Turkiye, Iran, and other countries, they have some calls about to send troops to help the Palestinian people. And especially during the Great Palestine meeting in Istanbul last week, we heard some suggestion about to send Turkish soldiers, Turkish troops to Palestine, and these calls and these messages are being accepted very strongly and very seriously in Washington, and they are worried about it, that if Turkish troops will come to Palestine to help the Palestinians, so how Israel or United States will do with this fact, and it will cause the collapsing of NATO and collapsing all these strategic partners. So that's why now United States urge the state of Israel to continue these military operations in the local level, not to allow to expand these military operations, but in fact already Yemen, already Hezbollah and other Hezbollah from Lebanon and some Houthis, and they are trying to enter to this war against Israel, and it means that United States has to send their troops to Israel to support and even to take part in these military operations. And if the third countries such as Iran, Turkey or other countries will send their troops, it means that the war in Middle East will expand, and it will become like a third world war as well.
Now, social media has played a very important role in this war. Platforms like Instagram and Facebook are trying their best to censor Palestinians, the inhumane killings by Israel, and the conditions in Gaza. How dangerous is this filtering of Palestinians, and what could be the imminent problems as a result of the censorship?
Of course, social media, social networks are playing a very significant role in this war. As from the first day of this war, Israeli media and pro-Israeli media outlets in the world, especially CNN, BBC, they are trying to falsificate the truth about what's happening in Palestine, and they are trying to show that even the hospital in Gaza was bombed by Hamas, but as well as this conflict continues already 3 weeks, and the international community watched these videos, and even in the United States last week, they already understand and reality, and the public opinion in the United States is divided into two parts, and some part of Americans say that it's impossible that to continue, and it's not good to continue this brutality because it negatively affects on the U.S. reputation in the world, because Washington stands with Israel, and it's these military operations kills innocent people, civilians, children, women, elderly. So that's why the social media, especially televisions, which are broadcasting from the Palestine and shows what's going on, how Israel army conducts military operations, and how makes this genocide brutality. It makes changing in the minds of even Western people. They are starting to think that it must be stopped, this war, and the brutality must be stopped, and at least the ceasefire should be announced, and civilians and wounded people in Gaza, they must be delivered, and humanitarian aid, they must be evacuated from the ground, but at the end, this military operation should be stopped. And that's why, even the politicians, even the countries, they couldn't do it. But social media, televisions, you journalists, media representatives did a huge work to show the international community, to Western countries, the Western people, that the reality is that Israel army make genocide in Palestinian people, and they kill and destroy every civil settlements in Gaza.
You've mentioned that this might get bigger and become a Middle East war or even Third World War. But are Arab leaders reflecting Arab nations' thought on this crisis? We have seen many pro-Palestinian protests all around the world, but little action from Arab leaders. What is Egypt doing? What is Jordan doing? Let's start with bordering countries who would be most affected from this Middle East war.
Unfortunately, there is nothing concrete steps from Arabic countries. I mean governments, I mean states, because the ordinary people, the Muslim community all over the world, even in United States, in UK, in Canada, in other European countries, where the government stands with Israel, the ordinary people, Muslim community, Turkish Muslim community, they are actively participating in these rallies and stands with Palestinian people, condemns this genocide, and demand from their governments, from the states, to push the Israel to stop this brutality. But in fact, the Arabic countries, as you mentioned, the names, they keep their silent, and there is no any urgent meeting of these Arab leaders. There are different organizations of these Arabic and Muslim countries. They last 2 weeks, I don't remember that they were assembled and made any resolution and adopted any resolution and condemned this brutality. The separate countries, they talk something and made some statements, warned Israel, but in fact, it's almost 3 weeks that this brutality is going on, and it has some political aspects as well, because some Arabic countries, they have very good relations with the United States of America, and last months we observed the mutual visits of Israeli officials to Arabic countries and meetings with Arabic leaders. So I think that some Arabic countries, they in fact depends on United States of America, and via America, they are under pressure, and that's why they keep their silent, and they just do just statements, no concrete steps we watch from these Arabic countries. And I want to especially underline the activity of the officials of the Republic of Turkey, especially President of Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Minister of Foreign Affairs Hakan Fidan, and last 3 weeks, and the Turkey's officials, they had conversations and meetings with US and other European countries' leaders, with Arabic countries, and Turkey's efforts and mediation policy on stopping this brutality is very huge. And in fact, Turkey has enough experience. We observed and we remember Turkey's role in during the conflict in South Caucasus between Armenia and Azerbaijan, during the Ukrainian-Russian war, during the grain deal, and during the presence of war in Ukraine. And now in Palestine, only Turkey has a very significant role and does its best to release these hostages taken by Hamas, as well as stop these military operations and achieve the ceasefire, at least to stop this brutality and have ceasefire, then to continue dialogue between Hamas or Palestine with Israel. Because if Israel will continue these operations, so there is no way, because it will, this war will be expanded to the Yemen, Syria, Iraq. I don't know, tomorrow even Iran and other countries may enter to this war, and it means that this conflict will become the Third World War. So that's why I hope that the countries, especially Muslim countries and all countries who stand with peace and dialogue, should support Turkey's initiative and efforts on this conflict. And Ankara has enough power and opportunities, because Turkey at the end of these hostilities and between Israel and Palestine, Turkey finally established good relations with Israel last month, as we observed it, and also Turkey has with relations with Palestine and Hamas. So I think that Ankara can play a very significant role to have dialogue between Hamas and Israel and to stop these military operations and achieve the ceasefire in the region. But anyway, all international community, especially those Arabic countries, they should support Turkey in this matter.
Now, on 11 November, Arab countries are expected to meet and talk about the issue. Can we expect a positive outlook? Will they unite after a whole month?
You know, 11th November, it's too late, I think. It will be maybe 4th or 5th week, but Israeli army already destroyed Gaza, and now the discussion is going on about evacuating millions of Palestinians from Gaza to Egypt or to other regions of Palestine. It means that State of Israel has one concrete target, one concrete aim, to take control over all the territory of Gaza, to then to have some pro-Israeli authorities there and destroy the Hamas. So that's why Arabic countries, I think that Arabic leaders also, they think about and they see the public opinion increasing, protests in the world, and they have to make any meetings and to show that we are thinking about our brothers in Palestine. But in fact, I don't think that the result of this meeting will be efficient, so will be effective. So, and some statements and any resolutions will be made to force Israel, to push Israel to stop this military operation, because the most important and high tribune international platform in the world is UN Security Council and UN General Assembly, and we know that there are hundreds of resolutions in UN Security Council, and all these resolutions condemn the occupation of Palestinian territories by Israel, and all these resolutions were voted by United States of America. So it means that if United Nations has no effective work and no result. So how can Arabic countries stop Israeli these military operations? And those Arabic countries, most of them have very good relations with US, and it means that the meeting of these Arabic countries will have any concrete results. And I think that I believe that Israeli army will continue these operations until destroying the Hamas, and by this way to clean all these Gaza, all this territory, to take control over this territory.
You've mentioned about Turkish president's mediation efforts in Russia war. Now, Erdogan has pledged to make every effort to ensure tranquility in the region. How would you elaborate the strategies and methods that Turkiye might employ to contribute to peace and stability in the region?
You know, Turkey is a very important country because Turkey is one of the important member of NATO, and Turkey has very good relations with United States, with as well as with Arabic countries, and Turkey is geographically and politically situated in very important areas. So also Turkey has enough experience in mediation process, and peace initiative of Ankara is accepted by both sides. And I think that Turkey's efforts will be resulted positively, and at least Turkey will achieve the ceasefire, because there is no way to keep eyes to this brutality every day. Hundreds of people were killed in Palestine, and Israeli army continues this bombardment, and now ground operations continues, and it means that there is no any country in the world that can stop this war. Only Turkey has chance and opportunities, and I think that Turkey will do its best. But anyway, Turkey is the only country in the world. Turkey needs support from Arabic countries as well. So that's why Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Minister of Foreign Affairs Hakan Fidan continues their efforts. And during the Great Palestine meeting, Turkey once again expressed the support to Palestine in this conflict. But you know, Turkey needs support from the international community as well, Muslim countries, from Turkish countries. But unfortunately, we don't observe, to be honest, the concrete steps from Turkish organizations, from Muslim countries. Turkey is only in this battlefield, in this process. But anyway, I think that Turkey will achieve at least to have ceasefire, because it's unbearable. It's clear the genocide, and Israel continues to ignore all international norms, and it continues this genocide in Palestine.
Now, as an expert in international relations, how do you assess the broader implications of regional conflicts like the Israeli-Palestine issue on global diplomacy and cooperation? How can nations work collectively to address such problems in more effective manner?
You know, this conflict is already divided the world powers into two sides. From one side, Israel, United States, UK, and in passive mode, some European countries also participating in this conflict. But from the other side, we see Iran, Russia, China actively involved in this process, and Russia, Iran, and China, they demand justice and support Palestinian people. So it means that this conflict between not only Israel and Hamas, it's between the US, between the West and Asia, between the Russia, China, and United States. So I think that these military operations will continue and the war will expand. It means that those countries can be entered to the war, and it means Third World War. So that's why I believe that White House finally understand the responsibility and the consequences of the continuing of these military operations, and will stop and will push the Israeli government to stop these military operations, because today Israeli army has some difficulties on ground operations, because in fact I think that is my subjective opinion that Israeli army hasn't enough experience of war, and they used to bombardment from the airstrike, and now Israeli army launched ground operations and in the field, and they face very strong offensive operations from Hamas troops. So that's why they ask support from U.S. Army. And I heard from some U.S. officials that already 300 American soldiers were sent to Israel to take part in these military operations, and another part of U.S. Army are prepared to be sent to the region. And it means that U.S. Army already in this war, maybe in passive mode, but in upcoming days they can be actively participated in these operations. It means that Iranian army can also be entered to this war, because Iran also support Hamas, Hezbollah actively, and we heard the statements from Yemen that Yemen also enters this war and will fight against Israel. It means that these operations will expand, and there is no any international regulation. If in New York we observe that Israel openly ignores the international community, and there is no effective mechanism, international mechanism to stop this brutality, because United States stands with Israel, and in fact United States is the part of this war. There is no any law mechanism, only to fight with each other, and it means that it will expand the war in the region, and the consequences will be, of course, very tragic.
Ahmad Shahidov, thank you for joining us, and
Thank you so much
for joining our studios and for your analysis.
Thank you so much.